What's up everyone, Chris here, and in this video I'm going to run through turning rough sawn lumber that I cut off my sawmill and turning it into finished trim for my house. Stay tuned throughout the video because there's a few very important things that I learned along the way that I need to share with you. These boards are from a red oak tree that I cut off my family's property. I milled the log myself on my portable sawmill and dried the lumber in about 3.5 weeks in a wood kiln that I built in my garage. Check out my channel for videos on those things. I start off by running the rough sawn boards through the table saw to clean up one edge. Then I flip the board around and clean up the other edge, running my first cut along the fence. I flip the board one last time and run my first cut back through so that the third and the first cut end up being on the same side. This doesn't get the edges perfectly straight, but it gets it close enough for what I need. I move the fence in after every cut until I get down to my finished width. Next, I move over to the planer, and I have my dust collector set up in the closet here, which really helps keep things in the shop from getting too covered in dust. Plus, it keeps it a little quieter when the dust collector is running. And I actually have the collector plugged into an outlet in the closet that's controlled from a switch outside the closet, so I don't have to go in and out every time to turn it on. The planer is a very, very loud tool, and it throws sawdust everywhere, so it's essential to have a dust collector hooked up. If you're not familiar with the planer, it basically just pulls the boards through a wide spinning cutting blade with a set of rollers and slowly shaves the thickness of the board down. It leaves a nice smooth finish on the face of the board, especially if you have brand new blades in it. A couple tips when using a planer is to try to pull up on the board a little bit as you're feeding it into the planer and as you're pulling it the rest of the way out. This helps prevent planer snipe, and also flipping the board over between each pass will help you get the board as flat as possible. I cut one end of the board square with this little crosscut jig that I made for my circular saw. I love this DeWalt cordless circular saw. I'll leave a link in the description for it. Then I run the router around 3 sides with a 1/4-inch roundover bit. Clean up the mess quick with probably my favorite cordless tool, the DeWalt cordless vacuum, and then I get to sanding. I finally broke down and bought a professional sander. It saves me so much time, and the dust collecting on it is amazing. It hardly throws any sawdust, which I love because if you're a woodworker, you know that sanding throws the most sawdust everywhere. The one I picked is the 3M Extract, and it is well worth the money. After I brush or vacuum the sawdust off, I apply a pre-stained wood conditioner. This really makes the grain pop, and I recommend not leaving the conditioner sit on the oak for too long and being very thorough when you're wiping it off. Also, let it sit for a while after you wipe the conditioner off before you try to apply stain. Oak has such deep porous grain that there can still be liquid conditioner stuck in the grain when you apply your stain, and it'll leave fish eyes after you apply your stain. I'm using Minwax stain, and in order to achieve the color I want, I'm mixing 50% dark walnut with 50% red oak. I typically wipe the stain off right away, but if you want a darker color, you can let the stain soak in for 5 to 15 minutes. Just don't wait too long because the stain will start to dry and it'll be hard to wipe off. Another thing you can do to achieve a darker color is to stop sanding at a coarser grit sandpaper. Like stop sanding at 150 rather than going all the way to 220. For varnish, I'm just using satin lacquer sprayed through a cheap HVLP gun. I've got a water catch filter on here and I sprayed about 25 psi. I mixed the lacquer, 1 part lacquer thinner to 2 parts lacquer. I'm just spraying outside, but the lacquer dries very quickly, like in 60 seconds. So it'll dry before any dust can land on it. I spray 3 coats and lightly sand after the second coat. I wipe off the bulk of the lacquer dust, but lacquer is self-wetting. So any white dust left from sanding after the second coat will just wet back down after you make your final coat, and it'll look even nicer. I found that I like to do a heavyish final coat because it leaves a smoother finish. The cleanup on an HVLP gun is super easy. Just send a little lacquer thinner through it, maybe swirl it around a little bit, and call it a day. This is the final product. I am very happy with it. I love the color and the finish on it. I think it has the perfect amount of sheen. You can see some of the fish eyes here from the excess conditioner. Don't make the same mistake I did. I am open to any criticism in the comments, so fire away. Also, I have other videos of me milling this lumber and drying it on my channel, so you can check those out if you'd like. Also, the tools and products I used in this video are linked in the description. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video or learned something from it. And stay tuned for my next video on me installing this trim in my home. Thanks for watching.